Broadcasting around the world on the internet 24 hours a day at www.odysseytv.org. This is Odyssey Instructional Television, a program of the San Bernardino County Regional Occupational Program.
Welcome to another show, everybody. Jim Hall, You Ought to Know, right here in Victorville, California. And here's the courthouse. You can see it back there. You ever had to go to the courthouse? Ever been involved in family law, maybe custody? We've got our little guy that's been with us on every show right here. Caden is along. Jody's with us, my wife. And, you know, we talk about custody cases and family law. We're going to talk to an expert today, an attorney dealing in family law and bankruptcy situations. People are finding hard economic times. And sometimes they do have to file that Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So we're going to meet Stephanie Roberts St. John today on this show, and it's a privilege, and you're going to want this phone number, 760-241-0003. Write it down. Keep it handy, simply because, like with every show, you ought to know. Stay with us, everybody. Whole lot coming up on this show. Welcome back, everybody. Jim Hall, You Ought to Know, and I told you a little bit in the opening of the show. This had to do with family, a little bit of law. If you're in trouble during these economic times, bankruptcy is out there too. And with us right here, let me introduce to you Stephanie Roberts St. John. Stephanie, thanks for joining us on the show.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Well, you know, we've got to get right into this thing because the community out there is experiencing hard times. And is bankruptcy, is it up? Big numbers, percentage-wise?
I would say it's way up. We have so many people that are experiencing financial difficulties that just can't make it in these hard times.
Well, let's dive right into it, and then we're going to come back and talk about the law practice that you have here and your background and so forth. But when we talk about you deal in family law, divorce, separation, custody type things, and bankruptcy, is that right?
That's correct.
Any other areas of law that you're into as well?
Well, I do a little bit of juvenile defense, but primarily family law and bankruptcy. Those are the mainstays of my practice.
Do those tie together in a lot of regard?
Well, unfortunately, frequently with family law, a bankruptcy comes right along with it. People find that two separate households cannot live as cheaply as one household.
So they have to find a way to make it all work, and unfortunately, the situations kind of have some problems along the way that you have to help.
Yes, frequently it just doesn't work.
All right. When we talk about bankruptcy, first off, the laws have changed recently. Is that correct?
Well, it's been a couple of years now. The laws have changed. The guidelines are different. There are some people who cannot file bankruptcy that would have been able to file prior. We have income limits that we have to watch a little differently, a means test that we have to work through in order to qualify them. These were not part of the bankruptcy scheme when I started practicing. So it's a little more complicated than it used to be, but by and large, we're able to help most people who come through our doors.
When you talk about those thresholds, how much money can I make if I'm out there earning wages, but I just can't make the bills anymore, or things have changed, or contracts were canceled, or whatever it may be?
Well, that would depend on the size of your household and various factors. And I think the person to probably get that information from would be my bankruptcy administrator, who is Michelle Courtney, and we'll be meeting her a little later, I believe.
Yep, she'll be here, and you have a staff of how many that actually work here in the practice?
I have currently, I'd have to stop and count them. I have currently, I believe there's 5 of them. We have a couple of family law paralegals, and a bankruptcy administrator, a couple of receptionists who take turns, and then I have a staff support person who does court runs and filing and that type of thing.
Let me tell you right off the bat, if you want information, family law, bankruptcy information, you can do that by going to or calling the number 760-241-0003. Real simple number to remember. And then you have a website as well?
We do. It's attorneystjohn.com.
That's easy enough to remember,
Yeah.
too. attorneystjohn.com.
Right. That's correct.
Well, the bankruptcy ban, we talked a little bit about the laws, and things have changed a little bit, or some of the things you can or cannot get cleared off. Are there certain things that bankruptcy just will not clear off?
Well, student loans would be one of those things, and income taxes, federal income taxes would be one of those things. There are some provisions that have pretty much gone by the wayside, where we used to be able to sometimes have those things discharged in bankruptcy, but it's pretty much not the case now.
Not even with the times being what they are, the federal courts are not going another way, or special mandates coming out of Congress, nothing else.
I have not seen any of that yet.
Is that anticipated? Do you think that's needed out there?
Well, I would like to say that it's anticipated. I really don't anticipate it at this time. It certainly is needed, but on the other hand, taxes are something that we have to keep everything else going. We wouldn't even have the courts going if we didn't have the taxes. So it's just a catch-22.
Well, let me ask you about that catch-22, because that brings up a good point. Are a lot of the people that are filing, besides household bills, the credit cards, the overburden of debt, is a lot of the cases that you deal with have to do with taxes being a big part of that, or student loans, both of those items being somewhat high percentage of numbers?
I would say that it's not a high percentage. We do have people that come through with those problems, but since they're not dischargeable, they're not something that we're dealing with here in the bankruptcy.
So the taxes are not a big part of that's not what they're coming in mainly for at all.
No, that's correct. And I would be referring them to an attorney who dealt specifically with taxes.
Now, is there a way to get into the courts and say, look, there's an undue hardship here, or this is the circumstance? Will the courts look at it at all?
Well, there are some provisions for undue hardship, but in my practice, and I've been doing this for 13 years now, I have not been successful at that, and I wouldn't say that it's that I personally haven't been successful. It's just not something that is granted very often.
All right, now we talk about different types of bankruptcy, so we're going to talk about that when we come back. We're here in Victorville, by the way. If you want information, you can call the number 760-241-0003, and again, the website?
attorneystjohn.com.
You have people can find you here in Victorville. You're just adjacent to the courthouse here,
I
very
am.
comfortable. And you're located where?
I am located at 15500 West Sand Street, just about a block away from the courthouse, and I'm upstairs in Suite 6.
All right. Well, we're going to find out a little bit more. You're going to find out some of her background, and we're going to meet some of the staff, too, during this show, simply because, like with all of our shows, you ought to know. Stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back, everybody. Jim Hall, you ought to know, at the law offices of Stephanie Roberts St. John. And Stephanie, we got to say, first off, again, the phone number. I get it right every time, don't I?
You do.
760-241-0003. And the website?
Is attorneystjohn.com.
So we can go there and get all the information about what you do in your practice. What is it you do in your practice?
Well, primarily family law and bankruptcy.
That means that you do what?
That means that I assist people going through a divorce, going through a child custody action. We also do guardianships, adoptions, support, restraining orders. Those are in the purview of the family law department. And then we do Chapter 7 bankruptcies, which are consumer bankruptcies.
Well, we're going to learn more about that, so hold on to that thought. But you've got to introduce the staff, because you do have the staff here working with you.
I do. I have the best staff in the high desert, I have to tell you.
All right, let's start right here.
This is Heather St. John Taylor, and Heather is a family law paralegal. And as you might guess from the middle name St. John, this is my daughter, and she's been with me when I started practicing 13 years ago.
You started 13 years ago. What were you doing, Heather, 13 years ago?
I started working for her 13 years ago and was going to school, and I'm hoping to continue on with
So
school.
you were doing school when she was getting ready to start practice?
Yes, yeah, college.
You do what here in the practice?
I do handle some of the family law cases and basically do the administration on those cases.
Next we have.
We have Sarah Hernandez. Sarah is also in our family law department, and she does a lot of the things that Heather does. Heather's also the office administrator, but other than that, Sarah does a lot of the things that Heather does. She works directly with the clients. She does some of the family law paperwork, and she's also our Spanish speaker here. And Sarah's just very knowledgeable, and I'd like to say that all of my people here are also very compassionate. That's kind of one of the things that I want to make as a hallmark for my law firm is that we treat our clients with compassion. We try to keep a high standard here so that when they come here they feel comfortable and they know that we actually care. We're not just in it it's not just a business to us, but it's something that we're all involved in because we think we can give something to society this way.
All right. You've been with the practice now how long?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half. And you speak Spanish, so you get a lot of Spanish speakers into the practice?
Yes, we do.
What is one of the most interesting cases you've seen come through since you've been here?
One of the most interesting cases, I would have to say they're probably all interesting in different ways.
Family law, you ever seen any come through with 10, 12, 14 kids?
I haven't seen that yet, I'd have to say, no.
You ever seen any of those type cases out there?
I'm thinking that probably the most I've seen is maybe 7 kids.
Is that a hard situation when you're dealing with family situations and you've got to place these kids maybe?
You know, I don't think it matters how many children there are. It's just a hard situation. When parents are splitting up, that's very hard on the children. The children are probably the biggest victims of the whole situation. So it doesn't matter how many there are, even if there's just one child. It's pretty much devastating in most cases to that child.
All right, let's continue on. Your staff here continues. Who do we have next?
This is Natasha Jerome, and Natasha is our support person. She does a lot of runs to the court, so the court clerks are very familiar with Natasha. And then she does whatever else we need. She is in college, hoping to go on to law school one of these days, and she does a great job for us.
All right, now you've been with the practice now how long?
1 year.
1 year. So if you're running back and forth to the courts and you're taking documents back and forth, is that what you're doing?
Yes.
You're on the move quite a bit, or is there times where you never stay in the office very much?
Correct.
Not anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do a lot of that. Now, if you're headed for law school, where are you going to go to school?
Probably in Riverside. Yeah.
So you're here at the practice. You know, we've got one more we've got to meet, you were telling me.
Yes, we do. We have last but absolutely not least, Michelle Courtney. Michelle Courtney is my bankruptcy administrator, and she is the first person that someone who would be coming to us to find out about bankruptcy, she's the first person that they would meet. And Michelle's extraordinary because she not only does she have a firm grasp on all of the ins and outs of bankruptcy, but she's also a very caring person. And oftentimes someone will come in and talk to Michelle, and what should be a 20-minute conference ends up being a couple hours because she really gets to know the people and starts caring about them immediately. So she's just a great person.
Well, Michelle, you're looking like, really? Is that you've been with the practice now how long?
I've been in the legal field probably about 10 years, with Stephanie probably about 7.
And when you meet a family, like she said, when they come in, each case pretty much different, but pretty much the same.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that are in the same position right now with as bad as things are. Credit card debt, that's pretty much what it consists of. I mean, the credit cards tripling the interest rates, tripling the monthly payments due. It's just overwhelming. That's the biggest thing is people really need to eliminate credit card debt.
All right, so that's kind of an overview real quick of the office and what you're talking about in the past few minutes. But when we talk about the team that it takes here, you handle about how many cases on any given week or month?
Well, I don't know that we've ever counted how many come through in a week, but we probably have a couple of hundred family law cases, I would say, and close to 300 bankruptcy cases. Bankruptcy case doesn't just come and go, and certainly family law cases don't come and go. They stay in the office for a while.
All right, we're going to talk more about that, what the process is like when you're filing, for bankruptcy, how long it takes, what to expect when you come in. So we're going to do that next, so don't go anywhere. We're here in Victorville, the law office of Stephanie Roberts St. John, and that number again, 760-241-0003. Stay with us, everybody, simply because, like with all of our shows, you ought to know. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back, everybody. Jim Hall back here. You ought to know. And today we're in the law offices of Stephanie Roberts St. John. And I was thinking about this phone number again, 760-241-0003. And kind of a real simple number to remember.
Very simple to remember, as is my website,
Well, the website is...
attorneystjohn.com.
Why did you pick that one? I mean, it is so simple. It was just a natural.
I guess it's just a natural. It's my name. I'm an attorney. Easy to find me.
All right. And they can find you here in Victorville. Now, we were talking about bankruptcy. We met some of the staff, family law, the things you deal with. Number one, you deal in compassion because you're a member of what?
I'm a member of the Christian Legal Society, which is a national fellowship of attorneys and law students that are believers in Jesus Christ and believe in those precepts that he propounded. And because of that, in our office, we are very careful to show compassion to our clients, let them know that we care about what they're going through. Because whether it's a divorce situation or it's a bankruptcy situation, this is a traumatic situation for these people. And they need someone that's going to give them a bit more of that listening ear and compassionate touch.
It's a tough time when families are dissolved or there's strife or kids have to be reassigned, so to speak, almost from a legal point of view, but from one relative to another, or do I get visitation, or what is this situation going to be? And then we go to the legal side of the economic side, bankruptcy, and people come in and they really feel disheveled or substandard.
Well, a lot of people feel guilt over the bankruptcy. They feel like they're failures. A lot of people feel that, especially if they've been brought up that good people don't go bankrupt, they pay their bills, they feel that they've done something wrong. And I frequently point those people, if they're Bible believers, I point them to the scriptures that talk about the forgiveness of debt, and just try to help people understand that there's a lot of people that are going through this now. There's not the stigma that it used to have, and people don't do it lightly. People who come through these doors are not career bankruptcy people. They don't file every few years. These are people who are really struggling and really need this relief.
Some people in the past, before some of the laws changed and what have you, they used that as a natural relief. They knew every 7 years, I can go back into court and file it.
That's correct. There used to be a lot of that, and I suppose there still is a lot of that. But by and large, what's really happening now, what I'm seeing is people who have gone through their whole life and suddenly they've met this kind of disastrous situation. See a lot of elderly people that they just can't do it anymore.
Well, it makes it tough. And should they feel any guilt here?
I don't think they should, because most of the people, it's been the circumstances surrounding them, and not that they've gone out and just played with credit cards and lived it up and now they just want to put the debt on someone else's back. It's really not that at all.
Well, you talked about the fact that when they get into court, what is that situation like? You go to court and the process time-wise, from the time I come to your office and I meet your receptionist and I get to talk to Michelle or somebody in the office there, what's that process like?
Well, if we're talking about bankruptcy, we file the bankruptcy and they'll be in court probably 4 to 5 weeks later. It won't actually be in court, in a courtroom. It'll be in a meeting room with a trustee. The hearing is very brief, lasts minutes. And then we wait after they go through that hearing. If all is well, we just wait until the discharge comes through. They receive notice that their debts have been discharged. And it's a huge relief for them.
Well, and do they, after that process, you talked about they feel guilt, they feel very depressed at some point, and after the discharge, they can become whole people again and contribute to society?
Oh, absolutely. They can begin rebuilding, and within just a couple of years, they can be back on their feet pretty much in the position they were in before, except for they're a little wiser.
There is a lesson to be learned in a little bit of everything that you're dealing with: family law, bankruptcies.
Yes, absolutely. The advice that I think is best is that you once you've gone through a bankruptcy, you need to rebuild your credit, but you don't want to depend on credit.
Now, how long does it take the average person that goes through the bankruptcy? And we're talking, you mentioned Chapter 7. This is complete liquidation of debt.
Correct.
So this is not where they're going to be repaying some of the debt. This is completely liquidating that, correct?
Yes.
So when they come in and you qualify them, so to speak, is that what the process is, to make sure
Yes.
they do qualify for a Chapter 7?
We have to make sure that they qualify, which depends on their income level and the number of people in their family and a few other factors. If they qualify, then we go forward with a Chapter 7. If there's some kind of an issue that can't be dealt with in a Chapter 7, then we would refer them to an attorney who'd be able to help them with a Chapter 13, which we no longer do in this office.
Well, you have the capability and the ability. I asked you if you went into family law and bankruptcy type practice, and you kind of had said what I expected. It kind of found you, this particular field.
It did. I kind of accidentally got into family law, and it was a happy accident because I'm happy doing family law. I feel like I'm really doing something good here, and it's a good fit.
You know, it's got to be tough sometimes to watch them come in so depressed, but when you get some resolution for them and some peace, it's really got to feel good.
It's very satisfying.
Stephanie, thank you so much for being with us on this show. We've learned a lot today. And again, the phone number is 760-241-0003. And the website
Is attorneystjohn.com.
All right, don't go anywhere, everybody. We're here in Victorville, and you can go to and get all the information at our website. And remember that phone number. Call it 760-241-0003. If you have questions, they don't bite. They're real people, and they're nice, right?
Yes, we're very nice.
All right. Don't go anywhere, everybody. We'll be right back to wrap it up, simply because you ought to know. Stay with us. Well, that's going to put the wraps on another show, everybody. Jim Hall, you ought to know, and I've got my buddy right here, 66 shows now. Caden's been with me on this during his past 17 months of life, and it's all about family. Here's Connor, Mother Mary right here, Jody back here, my wife, and Stephanie, your entire staff back here. Thank you so much to Stephanie Roberts St. John, attorney at law, family law, bankruptcy. It's about family, Caden. It's all about family. And no matter what you're going through, these are really neat people. You want to give them a call because they can help provide some of the answers. 760-241-0003. And like with all of our shows, you can get the answers right here, simply because, Caden, you ought to know. See you next time, everybody.